And we are recording simultaneously. So here we go.
I'll wait one more time for him to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tom Bernard Show with the family and
Andy Brandt Bernard.
And Kristyn Burtt.
Yeah, Mom's not here.
Mom. She's not here. No question about it. She's out gallivanting somewhere. I don't even know.
With Jude?
Yeah, Jude doesn't seem to be
Jude's
there.
with me. Jude.
Oh, is he?
He's not in the chair anymore. I don't know where he went.
Judy, where'd you go?
He wandered off probably to tear holes and things or something. I don't know who knows what he's doing, but that's the deal. Kristyn Burtt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabanco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. My initial report to you is, I know that it's Halloween in 9 days? It's the 22nd today, isn't it?
Yeah, 9 days.
Mm-hmm.
So 9 days from now, it'll be Halloween, and I still can't talk Catherine into watching a Halloween movie. So what I did was I did a little research on which one she'd like. So I watched about 4 or 5, 10, 20, 30 minutes of these shows. Those movies suck.
Which ones did you watch?
I don't even remember the name of them.
A good classic like Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis is good.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yep,
Yeah.
that's good.
Old school Friday the 13th, Freddy
Yeah.
Krueger. There's some good classics in there.
There are.
Or you
There's
could
no
go
question
go
about
back to Hitchcock even. That would be fun.
Alfred Hitchcock did the best job with any of that stuff, didn't he?
Yeah, he did it without so much gore. That is.
Yeah.
He's
Yep.
so clever with that. You couldn't do that with today's audiences in the same way.
No question about that. It's just, I don't know. I obviously, because Andy was born in October, I was born in November, Andy's son was born in November, his other kid was born in September. So this time of the year is very special to us. I mean, you got, Alex was born in February, but Andy was born in October, and then I was born in November. So we get all these times together, which being a Minnesotan is a really nice thing because the end of summer happens with Andy's birthday. And the beginning of winter happens my birthday. So
That's nice.
that's kind of how that goes. But you have something to be happy about and celebrate, even though the weather. November 7th, we have had huge snowstorms and very cold. On a day like that, if you're surrounded by family who love you, who cares about the weather?
Yeah, I guess as long as you're inside and it's nice and cozy, you're good.
Nice and cozy. You got to be nice and cozy, no question. No doubt about that. What's happening in your world, sister?
Well, I don't know if Andy told you this story. Your guest today, I actually didn't know it was your guest today.
Oh,
and I was
yeah?
like, you have to have my friend Mark Malkoff on today. And guess who's your guest today?
Mark Malkoff.
Mark Malkoff.
Yep.
And I sent that last night or yesterday afternoon or whatever. Isn't that funny? I'm like, I go, he would be the perfect guest for you.
Well, do you want to be on for a couple of minutes with him?
I can, yeah. I haven't seen him in a hot minute. He lives in New York and I'm in LA. The last time we hosted a live show together, the Streamy Awards, and I'm going to say it was probably 2009 or 10. And we started off the show because IKEA was the sponsor, and they made us start off the show in the bed.
In the bed?
To show off an IKEA bed. So we were, we were
see.
dressed
Okay.
and
A little
everything. Yeah,
weird.
but
Right.
no,
Little
it's
weird.
the photos are out there on the internet. You can find them.
Well, see, it's all you ever do is draw people's attention. That's it.
Exactly.
No question about it.
Exactly.
Oh, that
He's
should be a
got
good show. But that
Great
would be
Carson
great.
stories.
If you wouldn't mind doing a 2-3 minute crossover, I'd love that. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be
we
nice
could
to say
surprise
hi to
him.
him.
So, Catherine and I have been searching for things. So, Halloween stuff, I'm sorry, and I just said it, I know, a couple minutes ago, but I used to love watching Halloween movies, but there's really nothing new. When's the last time there was a new idea for a Halloween movie?
Yeah, a lot of them, I think a lot of it's torture porn, which is actually
Yeah.
a category. And I don't enjoy that aspect of it. I like suspenseful that makes me jump, like the jump scare, but I don't enjoy the super gory, super bloody, disgusting type of horror movies that seem to be the trend more often than
Yes,
not.
they are.
Blumhouse does a lot of those.
No, there's no question about it. Do you think people really understood how good Rod Serling was at his job?
Rod Serling, Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah,
Alfred
I
Hitchcock,
don't
phenomenal.
think you realize until you've passed it. But see,
Yeah.
then you have to keep on raising the bar. So that was the problem. You know, you get into, and even if you look at something like a Friday the 13th or a Halloween, it seems kind of tame in toward it. When you look at some of the stabbings that they're doing, you're like, oh yeah, that's no big deal. But we've upped the ante so much that they're pretty gory now.
Yeah, I watched. I have not finished one yet. I started watching like 3 or 4 different ones yesterday and this morning. They just, for me now, and I understand way out of the demo and all that stuff, but to me, it just, there are no surprises anymore. Well, he's going to do this next, and then he does it.
Well, yeah, that's
You know.
one reason I don't watch a whole lot of movies is because it really is like once you've watched a couple hundred, you've watched basically all of them.
That's very
Every so
true.
often, there is a unique movie out there, but for the most part, a lot of it is very, very much the same story told over and over.
Right.
Yeah.
I like The Strangers, which I think was probably early aughts at this point, but that was with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. And it was that whole idea of like a stranger is coming into your house. And they kept on knocking on the door like, is Tamara home? And that's like the suspense of like, is a stranger going to enter your house and kidnap you? Like that was the
Right.
scary part of it without it being like, we're going to stab you and it's going to be really bloody and gory. That to me is terrifying, but if you're looking for a horror movie, that's where I would lean toward.
You like the slow burn psychological horror?
Yeah. But it's terrifying. Like I find it terrifying at the same time, and maybe it's even more terrifying where you have home invasions happening all the time across
Yeah,
the
oh,
nation.
yeah.
That's not great, but
I think, and I just mentioned the fact, Andy being born in late October, but even before I got married and had anybody, my birthday's on November 7th. Starting to watch all that stuff with the family, get together with all my brothers and sisters, or at least the ones that were around. I mean, these things. Halloween has been maybe it's because I was raised Catholic. Maybe that's what it is. The fact that it's it's not a way over the top. Well, they've turned some of them into way over the top blood and guts deals, but just the characters themselves. I guess what it started with Boris Karloff and. What was the Dracula's name again? I forgot his name.
Bela Lugosi?
Bela Lugosi. Yeah, very good, Andy. Bela Lugosi is exactly what I'm thinking of. But I think it's because, Kristyn, and now Andy's birthday is in October, and his son's birthday is November 7th, same as mine. Mm-hmm. But we had, we started the, I supposed winter season off and all the rest of that. But then November 7th we get together, and on my birthday it'd be wonderful. My sister Bobby's birthday is November 14th, so we'd once in a while get together for that. She's not big on crowds or any of that kind of thing. And then you lead right into the Halloween. Well, you were led in by the Halloween presentation, but then of course you've got Thanksgiving. And there have been plenty now horror movies about Thanksgiving too.
yeah, there's ones about Santa Claus. I don't know, but Halloween also you have on the flip side of this, you have like The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, which is kind of fun to watch.
Oh yes.
Hallmark has actually started to do some Halloween movies. They've done this year. They did Haul Out the Halloween, which is like a series that came off of some of their Christmas movies. So I think that there's untapped resources that Hollywood could probably go and do some angles. Hocus Pocus is another good one that's kind of family friendly. Yeah.
Andy, what was Charles Schultz's name and came into the studio that time? Remember?
Charles Schultz's what?
Charles Schultz's son.
Oh,
He's
Charles
kind of
Schultz's
carried
son?
on he picked up the mantle and carried it all on and all the rest of it. But he came in studio and sat in studio with us all day, and it was just fascinating to hear the boy
Craig.
who grew up. Craig.
Yep, Craig Schultz.
Craig Schultz.
Are the
Just to
Peanuts
hear-
characters still around? They used to be like around St.
Oh, absolutely.
They are.
Yeah, they're never going to get rid of those.
And they're so cute. I loved them
Yeah,
when I.
we actually have one nearby town, Waconia, has I think it's a Lucy in one of the parks.
Oh.
It's like a park attached to an elementary school. And yeah, they got one of those big, like, I don't know what, fiberglass, I think, maybe. One of those fiberglass Peanuts
Yeah,
characters. They've got
probably.
one of them, so.
But yeah, I mean, it's always been, I guess, just in my head anyway, It's just a wonderful season because you got all summer long. It's wonderful. Then you go back and see your friends in September. Then in October, now we have Andy's birthday, of course, and have Halloween. We have other bunch of birthdays, and it's Thanksgiving.
You got my
and
birthday.
Then you got your birthday. I mean, it's just, there's about a 90 to 120 day period there, which is just so damn cool. Looking forward to everything as a kid. It's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a fun time of year between Halloween through, I think, New Year's. There's just a lot happening. A lot of celebrations.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. Is there anything coming up? Like, is there anything I could even bother to go to the movie theater to see?
I mean, it depends on like what, because you haven't seen One Battle After Another, have you yet?
No.
Yeah, and I know everyone's been saying, Tom, go see it. I mean, that's out in movie theaters. I'm going to see it, and I'll give you guys my thoughts on it. I'm going to see Jake Kelly tonight, which is a George Clooney film, which I'm always like, I don't know. But I'm curious as to what it will be like. George Clooney will be at the reception, too, tonight. So I will give you my thoughts about George in person as well, since I haven't been in the room with him in a while. So
I probably wouldn't bring up politics.
yeah.
He's way over the top.
Probably will.
He's proud that he like ushered
Yep.
Joe Biden out of the election,
Yeah.
and that has divided a lot of people in the Democratic Party. So I don't know. He's an interesting one.
Oh, there's just so much of that kind of stuff that goes on with all these people, though. Well, I just saw a video of Robert De Niro from either a day or two ago. I think it was from yesterday, but it might have been 2 days ago, where he referred to every person he didn't like as a Nazi.
Yeah, that's what they do.
Like, do you realize what the Nazis actually did? Like, don't be calling people Nazis. You're diminishing the importance of the word, don't you think?
I mean, I don't know the context in how De Niro was saying it. So
Oh, it was all based on politics. If you weren't far left, you're a Nazi. That's what he was saying.
Well, I mean, he is that kind of person, yes.
Yeah.
De Niro's he's batty.
Well, his biggest problem is, and I've talked about this, I never talked to him. I made eye contact with him once in a while because I'd walk by him almost at least twice, 3 times a week when I lived in New York. He never talked to me. But and don't take offense because I know plenty of tough, really tough small guys. But Robert De Niro's problem is he's a little tiny fella. And it really comes out, doesn't it?
Well, I think what's weird about Robert De Niro is that he wants to do all of the work in terms of like, because he'll do comedies and he'll do it, for the paycheck. You know that because
Right.
he's done some pretty bad movies. He'll also do the quality work with Scorsese and stuff like that. But then he doesn't want to do the other work. And the other work is like where I come into play, where I have to interview you to help promote your
correct.
movie. And if you don't want to do that, and if you're not giving and taking, it's so frustrating because I'm like, I'm just here trying to do my job. I'm just trying to get a paycheck. I don't, And it's so funny because I have an interview coming up with Jonathan Bennett. He's a Hallmark star, and he's in Mean Girls. And he gave me, Hallmark gave me about 15 minutes, which is a longer time. Usually in junkets, you get 5 to 8 minutes,
sure.
very short. I got 15 minutes with him. He answered every question, and then he would follow up with another thought. Like, he's so good at what he does. My editor came back and was like, this interview is fantastic. And it's Jonathan Bennett, and it's about a silly reality show he's doing on Hallmark, and it's about a couple of his Christmas movies. But because he gave so much and actually cared, he gave a great interview that actually has some depth to it.
Yeah,
And
well, that's good.
think about when you're doing a Scorsese film that actually you could give a lot of depth to your interviews, but instead you're like, I don't want to be here. This stinks. And you're giving no substance to your interviews.
Yeah, that really is too bad, isn't it?
It's a shame, honestly, because
It
that
is.
is a part of Hollywood history, or film history.
Yeah, no question. I do understand why politics gets involved in entertainment and all the rest of it. I really wish it didn't. Well, I don't care how far left or far right you are. I tried to make my position clear to people because I grew up a Democrat, and then for a few years I was Republican, and now I'm kind of like stuck in the middle. And I don't dislike Democrats. I don't dislike Republicans. I don't dislike anybody unless you're way over the top extreme and call people Nazis after what Adolf Hitler did 70 years ago or whatever that was now.
I think the problem too is that the companies have now gotten involved with all of this. Like I look at Disney, and
Yeah.
2 years ago, everyone was screaming that Disney's too woke, and now you have the flip side of it, where people think that Iger's gotten too involved with the Trump administration, and now everybody
really?
hates Disney. Yeah, everyone hates Disney,
Yeah.
and here's the problem. I mean, I think we initially talked about like even just the cancellation of subscriptions with Kimmel, and the initial numbers were 1.8 million. New York Times got all the data, and it was over 3 million for Disney Plus and over 4 million subscribers left Hulu. And some people will come back. They had new subscribers, so it'll all even itself out. But I'm like, Disney has now pissed off just about everybody. And
Why?
the parks aren't doing well because they want their hand in every cookie jar, and you get to a point where nobody's happy, nobody's satisfied.
Is Iger gone?
He's still a CEO. They are still trying to figure out who the heir apparent is going to be. And now with all of this situation in terms of like politics and having to pay money to the Trump administration, nobody really wants the job. And so it's getting to a place where Iger said he'd be gone by now, and he's not gone.
Yeah, he did.
And he's the only one staying in place. And you're like, who is going to prop up the Disney company? They've got a lot of problems with the parks.
Yeah,
Prices are rising. You're getting less bang for your buck there. People are saying too, we used to go for the rides and also the shows, and a lot of the shows are gone. They canceled all of them during COVID. They didn't bring them back. And you're like, why am I just paying for a couple of rides to stand in line all day? And that's it.
Yeah. No, that's a very good point. I got to be honest with you. When I worked there, when I worked at Capitol, and then came to work for KQRS, they were owned by, what was that company? ABC, I guess.
Yeah.
KQRS was owned by ABC, and Bob Iger was always, again, I like to remind people, I never worked for KQRS. I never even worked for ABC. I had a deal set up where I didn't work for or with the company. I just appeared on their show, So all these people that, oh, you did this and you did that, and oh my God, you were so terrible. I wasn't their boss. I didn't get hired to be their boss or whatever. That had nothing to do with me. The problem was that show got so big, so huge, #1 show in America, that maybe I'll even include myself in that, we all couldn't handle it. It was that big. He just handed Howard Stern his ass after about 6 months. He got rid of him. I don't like him very much. He has not much very nice to say about Uncle Tommy.
Well, where's your memoir, Tom? Where is your memoir?
That's what everybody keeps saying.
Where's
I
your
should write
memoir?
up a
I'm
memoir.
serious. You need to hire a ghostwriter and just like do it. Tell the stories to the ghostwriter.
Really?
And yeah, because here's the thing, Tom, and we are at a place where we are losing radio.
We are.
It's shifting away. We don't have radio personalities. I mean, you look at a Gen X, okay, we still have Ryan Seacrest remaining, but who can you name a Gen Z radio personality?
No.
We can name podcast hosts for sure that are, Gen Z and things like that. But this era of that type of media, that genre, is fading away. And if you don't tell your story and write them down as part of history, we lose that.
I may actually go back and do radio for a year or two more and then just, separate completely. Because I loved doing, when I got into radio, I was 18 years or 19 years old.
Yeah.
All the way back then. I love radio. I love podcasting too, don't get me wrong. And I see why podcasting is the future, because they can just bring it up whenever they want. They can listen to it. They can watch it. They can do whatever. And it's all how it fits into your life. That's a great thing about it.
But you don't want to lose your stories because your story ties into Stern, and there's a lot of interest there. And maybe Mark Malkoff will inspire you a bit because he, obviously had a fascination with Johnny Carson and talked to everyone who kind of worked with Carson. But again, if we don't capture these stories, they're gone.
I suppose that is true.
It is true. It's not even suppose. I'm telling you.
It's not even supposed
I'm telling you. You're
I
being
understand.
told. But I really do think that you should do a memoir. And I've been on you for that for like 2 years. So,
You have.
yeah. And I'm right on this.
And
And I don't think anyone in the chat is going to disagree with me on that. So anyone disagree, let me know. But I don't think that they do disagree.
See, I mean, But should my memoir include all of those early year things that happened in my life that made me who I am?
Absolutely, because that's the story of how you get to where you got.
That's what a memoir is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because without those early years, that's the formative years of like why you justified doing what you did, or why you pursued, or why you worked so hard, why you
why
wanted
you're
to
as
change
crazy
the
as
course
you
of
are.
your life. Well, you're crazy, but I know that. But I mean,
Bill says
Yeah.
Tom must have gotten into radio before FM became a thing. Is
Yes.
FM that new?
Well, compared to where we were, yeah, AM radio was just killing FM when I first got into it at 19 years old.
Let's see, the history of FM. Right. Well, FM broadcasting began in the 30s, but
Oh, did it?
FM was a thing.
Didn't get
But
but it
really
was
hot
so
until the
big,
90s.
like in the I feel like 80s, 90s,
Yeah,
like all the
yeah.
It's
pop.
when it's when music became a big thing because AM doesn't have quite enough fidelity for music. So when people wanted to start listening to music rather than talk, that's when FM took off.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that is pretty much the situation.
And then you have your morning drive shows and your afternoon drive shows. Those were such a big deal to be listening to both of those.
You know what's great about that is that YouTube, you can find any morning radio show that's ever been done in America on YouTube. It's really kind of cool. They preserved all that stuff.
Yeah, people put all that stuff up there.
Yeah, they do, which is very interesting to watch. I was watching some. Do you remember Steve Cannon when you lived in town? Or was
Yes.
You do remember Steve Cannon. Steve and I became pretty good friends. And then, of course, somebody had to screw that up because my ratings jumped again. And somebody told Steve Cannon, Bernard says he's going to take your job away from you. And I never said that. I knew Steve Cannon. I liked him a lot. I thought he was a very talented guy, great guy. But somebody had to mess it up by telling him, I'm coming for you, Steve. Well, I was already in first place, so how could I come for you, Steve? Right?
I know, but those are the days of like, when everyone's like jockeying for first place,
Yep.
and
Oh,
everyone has to
sure.
create drama and fights
Yep.
behind the scenes. But that's what makes it so delicious, and that's what would make your memoir so great. And everyone's agreeing with me. So even the people that always
And everyone's agreeing with me.
everyone's agreeing with
I
me.
like that.
Well, yeah, I was like, even the people that never agree with me, they're agreeing with me on this one.
We're going to do a segue segment because we have
Uh-oh.
Mark with us.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my! Look
I'm
who's
here.
Mark
good to see
Malkoff, how
you.
are you?
Oh my goodness, you are so nice to have me, first of all. And yesterday, Kristyn, you just reached out to try to get me a booking. And you said, you should come on this Tom show. And I'm like, I'm going to be on tomorrow. And here we
Yep.
are.
I
Look
reached
at
out to
that.
his wife because I had seen
Yes.
your book, and I was like, oh my gosh, it'd be so perfect for Tom.
Yeah, and I was like, little did you know I'd be with you less than 24 hours later. I'm
Crazy.
so happy to be here. It's good seeing you, and thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to be on. It's great to have both of you on. As a matter of fact, my son Andy's sitting back there running the whole thing.
Hey, Andy.
It's
Hello. I wonder if I can move the comments box because you're kind of like behind
You're
it
hidden,
now.
I
Tom.
don't care. I can be
Yeah,
behind the
I don't
comments
know.
box. I can bob my head back and forth. I don't care about that at all. They've seen enough of me anyway. Mark Malkoff, ladies and gentlemen, Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
Love Johnny Carson. Now, I don't know that this is a big surprise or whatever, but I can tell you that I've been in radio now for about 58 years.
Wow.
And there was one show I never, ever missed, and that was The Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. It
Yeah.
was the best thing ever on television, if you ask me.
He was amazing. I think
Yep.
a lot of people don't remember that he started. The show was an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, it was.
And he did his first year 404 hours of television, which is the equivalent now of a late night host doing their hour show. I guess 400 some times in a year.
Jesus.
Unbelievable. But people just couldn't get enough. And to dominate for 30 years in your field says a lot.
Yeah.
What are you looking at, Kristyn?
I'm happy to see Mark. It's been so
Happy
long.
to see you.
Mark, I was telling him, I was like, the last time I was with him, we were in an IKEA bed.
We were in bed together. There were a couple other
Okay.
people as well.
Okay.
Yeah, family friendly. It was family friendly.
It was family friendly, yeah.
See, when you started out just reading your name, I thought you were Catholic, but you can't possibly be behaving like that.
You know.
What I'm actually saying, though, Mark, is
Yes.
Catholic guys are all like that. Is what I actually meant to say. I grew up
Yeah.
a nice Catholic boy, and there are some guys. I don't know if the religion pushes them that way, but they cannot wait to get sexually involved. I think it's
You
unbelievable.
got to be fruitful and multiply.
The
Yeah,
Catholic
that's right.
guilt
How else are you going to
spell.
do that?
So, did you know, Mark? Did you know Johnny Carson?
I never met him. I was
Never met
16
him.
years old when he left. When he went off.
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
I've gotten into talk. I feel like I know him because I worked on this book. I mean, I've interviewed over 400 people. I talked to at least 50 or 60 of his staff members, hundreds of his guests, and his friends as well. I mean, I really feel the media for 30 years got this guy wrong. I would talk to his friends, the people that knew him really well, and they would all consistently, and wife number 2 said the same thing, that he was almost the same Johnny on and off the show.
Yeah.
And that was only to the people he felt comfortable with, because there were so many people trying to get stuff at him, and he had death threats. I mean, Mark David Chapman, who killed John Lennon, had a short list. Johnny Carson was on that list.
Yep.
It was constant. So the guy, for self-preservation reasons, was, some people would say, cold and aloof, but I mean, he would definitely shut down. But when he was with people he felt comfortable with, they all consistently say he was the same Johnny, maybe a little less gregarious, but still he was Johnny and always curious. That was the thing that people always said about him as well, on and off.
It was pretty. The thing that really upset me the most, I got to be honest with you, Mark, is when I found out. At least this is my take.
Okay.
He was not very nice to his children.
I think if you're going to do that, I think you're going to have to put a lot of other people, from Jerry Lewis to Kirk Douglas to Ben Stiller's parents, just this week were saying when they were growing up, you were not around. This was a constant thing in entertainment back
Yes.
then.
Yep.
It was Johnny was doing, again, an hour and 45 minutes when his kids were small, and also NBC had Johnny did not have power. There were constant rumors he was going to get replaced the first 2 years. So they were sending him out to affiliate meetings. They were sending him out to dinners. I mean, the guy was just completely exhausted. And to just survive in that job, which he turned down many times, and his wife number 2, Joanne, talked him into it. It consumed him. He said publicly, I find this is all I think about. At one point in 1971, he has 4 TVs going on at 11:30 in his UN Plaza apartment. One is his show, which he watched every night to study it. Then he has Dick Cavett, David Frost, and I believe it's Merv or Joey Bishop. So he's looking at all his competition, and the guy was obsessed. And when you put everything into one thing, something's going to suffer, and his kids did suffer. I will say this, and I talk about this in the book, which I don't think anybody knows. Wife number 3, which was Joanna, had a son, Timmy. Johnny and his relationship was amazing. Even when they got divorced, Johnny still went to his graduation at Westland, and that was the first time he really got the father thing right. He was in Burbank by this. I think that a lot of the pressure was off. He would take Timmy, who later went by Joe. He'd take him to see Carl Sagan and take him around. They'd watch Lucille Ball, I Love Lucy. They watch Groucho. So he did get that right. But you're absolutely right. In terms of a father and in terms of a husband, it suffered.
No question. No, Kristyn, do you have 5 more minutes? You have to go right away.
Yeah, no, I can stay.
Oh,
'Cause
good.
I'd like you two to talk, because I know you must have wonderful questions for me.
Well, actually, I would love to know. I know you interviewed a ton of people, and this has been, I don't know
Sure.
if people realize, this has been a very long project for you. I've watched this develop over years and years.
right.
Were you able to interview Doc Severinsen, Ed McMahon along the way?
I talked to Doc. I have his cell phone number, so we've talked many times. He was on the podcast twice. Ed was gone by then, but I got everyone from Peter LaSalle, who was Johnny's longtime producer, who produced Arthur Godfrey, Letterman, Craig Ferguson. I mean, he's legendary. I became friends with him. I had everyone from Mel Brooks, who was on Johnny's first show, October 1st, 1962, to people that knew him in Nebraska. I mean, it was just anybody that had an association. Some were famous, some weren't famous, but everyone, Carol Burnett. I mean, these are people that just wanted to talk to me because somebody, and I'm sorry to name drop again, this will be the last time, I hope, is that, someone like Jimmy Buffett, his people are, he's so excited to talk to you. I'm like, why would he be excited? And Jimmy Buffett told me why. He's like, Mark, I've been at this for, decades. This is an icon. He's like, no one has ever asked me about going on Johnny Carson, and it was the biggest break of my life. That
Really?
and opening up for the Eagles. It's like, no one's ever asked me. So basically, I would extend this opportunity to talk about Johnny Carson. I didn't realize that so many people would want to talk about, because they look at it like their one of the best times in their life. And consistently people would say, I love Johnny Carson, which to me that's what the title is, Love Johnny Carson. And it was a big surprise because some of the books were very negative, and Joan Rivers in every interview and just one or two other people would say not kind things. I can count the number of people on one hand that had problems with him, and they would just say that over and over again, and that's what I thought I was going to get, and I was shocked when I talked to people. And it was all positive, almost all positive, except the drinking, which Johnny talked about on his Tonight Show. He talked about it to Mike Wallace. He said, I have a problem with my drinking. When I drink, I have that one little drink, I'm fine. I turn into Attila the Hun. And I go into his faults in the book. I mean, we talk about the drinking, his over-competitiveness, his struggles as a father. I mean, you're not going to survive, number one, for 30 years and have, again, part of your life suffer, and we reflect that. But he was himself when he was on that show, and he did open up to a lot of those struggles he had.
But what a story that whole thing is. He was born in Nebraska, was he not?
He was born in Corning, Iowa, and then lived in Avoca till he was in first or second grade. But he considers Norfolk his home. He was in Nebraska, until he was 18. But we go into the stories, like, he was 17, hitchhiked to Los Angeles. First thing he does is buy a star map and goes out to Jack Benny's house and waits out to try to see his hero Jack. Doesn't see him, and then goes to he enlisted in the Navy, but he wasn't in the Navy, and gets a naval uniform at a uniform store and starts crashing the USO shows, and is, Orson Welles, who would go on to the Tonight Show a lot with Johnny, had selected Johnny out of the crowd and did a magic trick. He's dancing with Rita Hayworth. I mean, and then he got in. They found out that he wasn't in the Navy, and they arrested him, and he had to pay a $50 fine. So I go into Johnny's life pre-Tonight Show. We talk about the retirement years. The media really tried to make him out to be Greta Garbo and J.D. Salinger or reckless, and it was not true. I mean, he retires in May of '92, and then for 2 solid years, Bob Hope, 90th birthday, David Letterman cameo, American Teacher Awards. He is constantly going. Does The Simpsons. He went to the White House and got the Presidential Medal of Freedom from George Herbert Walker Bush. He did all these things. It was not one thing. So in May of '94, that's pretty much when he was done. He did the Kennedy Center honors. And those years he spent with, he would have lunches with his writers. He'd go in the office, hear pitches. But he was out and about. He just did not need to be like someone like Don Rickles, who needed that audience in front of him until the day he was no longer on this earth. Carson didn't want to be Bob Hope. He thought Bob Hope's best work was when he was younger, and Johnny was 66 and said, I know this is going to be the best work I've ever done, and I don't want the work to suffer. He thought Jack Benny, his hero, his idol, stuck around too long. He thought Lucille Ball, it was a mistake coming back near the end, and he did not want that to be him. Also, he quit smoking right after the show, and he gained a little weight, and he just looked a little different, and I think just some of those factors just all played into it.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I just, one thing, and I certainly want to get this out before Kristyn has to leave, this one thing about Johnny Carson drove me nuts was his mother.
Yeah.
And what I mean by that is, I can't remember, might have been Mike Wallace, I think. Mike Wallace flew to Carson City or where the hell ever she was living at the time. And this whole thing was on video. And she they get together, Johnny Carson's mother, and I think it was Mike Wallace. They're sitting there, they're talking about the Tonight Show. And now it's time for the Tonight Show to start. So you're sitting there watching Mike Wallace and Johnny Carson's mother watching the Johnny Carson Show monologue. The monologue's over. I'm still watching, and Mom turns to Mike Wallace and says, that wasn't funny at all. Her own son.
It was definitely complicated. Ruth Carson and I write about this because this has been written about with Johnny's mom. Ruth Carson, I don't remember what you're referring to, but I think it does sound familiar. But there was a point where Time Magazine was with Ruth Carson and watched the show in Nebraska, and there was one joke Johnny did about a sex change operation or something, and this was late 60s. Ruth Carson, very conservative, her and her husband Homer. And she said that joke. She said, "Not tain't funny McGee," which referenced this radio show that Johnny loved and his mom loved. And that one joke, definitely, that she said wasn't funny. She talked about that one joke that really became almost like an urban myth that she didn't find Johnny funny. I have her in print in so many newspaper articles, and she found Johnny funny. She watched every single night. The one thing I did find about culturally in the Midwest at the time, and Phil Donahue said this on Johnny's show, is we did not praise our kids because we did not want to give them swelled heads. She would compliment Johnny to her friends. She would do it to interviewers. But the guy could not get a compliment from his mom. And Phil Donahue said, I regret not praising my kids. That's what we believed, the swelled head thing. And yeah, that was definitely hard. And what you're referring to about Ruth saying that Johnny wasn't funny, that one time, and maybe other times, that definitely got to him. But it is a theme from other hosts with the mother thing, and that is really, really hard. Yeah, that was something that he wanted her approval, and I don't know if he ever got that to his face.
Probably not. The few times that I did see, I only met her in person one time.
Yeah.
And then I saw her on TV once in a while, and she just had this edge to her. It's like, ooh.
They said she was really cold, and the wives said that the wife of 2 and 3 both said that she did not like boys growing up. Johnny had a sister, and it was all about Catherine, and that Ruth said boys were gross and disgusting. And I think some of the magic Johnny performing was getting approval from his peers, but also getting it from Ruth, because he would entertain her clubs, her card game clubs, and they would all think he was great. And he said on the Tonight Show, it just felt great making my mom proud. And when you are not feeling you're making your parents proud, and your mom says they're proud of you, oh my goodness, that's a light bulb right there.
No, that's my mother all the way. Like I said, my father was hauled off in a straitjacket, so it wasn't a smooth childhood. But that's the kind of thing I loved. My mother wouldn't sit down and watch any TV shows with me. She was not a big TV watcher.
Really?
And she didn't really care for TV that much. She was born in 1920, so I suppose there wasn't any TV for, 30 years after that, 1950, something like that.
Not a lot to watch.
You what?
Not a lot to watch.
No, yeah, exactly. Not a lot to watch at all. But the thing about that is looking at, and Johnny Carson, I adored Johnny Carson. Never got to meet him. Met Ed McMahon several times, though. Ed, I really loved Ed.
Delightful.
Yes.
I've talked to his every people that worked for him. I talked to his daughter. Ed was not going to be brought to the Tonight Show. It was Hank Sims, this gentleman who was Johnny's friend, who was his announcer for one of the CBS shows that he did. And he didn't want to relocate to New York. And Ed, I have to say, one of the shrewdest guys. I mean, a hustler. He was endorsing something at one point like over 100 products. And it's Ed getting on the phone, cold calling places. I mean, he lost out on an audition for a smoking ad, so he started forcing himself to smoke for a while because they found out he didn't smoke. I mean, he was just his work ethic. So he takes Johnny to Danny's Hideaway here in New York with the wives, and he gets on his hands and knees, and this is according to wife number 2, and he starts crying and says, "Johnny, you have to take me," because Johnny wanted to start off fresh when he started the Tonight Show in October of 62, because Ed was on the game show with him for 4.5 years called Who Do You Trust, which was a huge game show on ABC. Johnny did not want to be identified with that game show. This was something different. He was taking over for Jack Paar, who was one of the biggest stars in TV, which is why he said no, and everyone advised Johnny, you can't take this gig. No one can replace Paar. And Johnny did turn it down. His wife, too, was the one that talked him into it. And that's how Ed got the gig. Tears, and you have to take me. I have to pay for my doorknobs that I bought at King of Prussia, Pennsylvania, all this stuff. And he played his cards right. I mean, Ed got employment for 30 years, and boy, did he milk that for all that was worth with all his endorsements and Star Search. And, Ed was a hustler, but a nice man, everybody said consistently.
Great guy. Really nice guy. And I love talking to him. Every time that he would do an interview on the show, I did the KQ Morning Show for 37 years and that whole deal. So I'd go, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ed McMahon. Yes, sir, yes. He jumped right into it.
He was great. There were just a couple of times, where he overstepped his bounds. And, Johnny at one point wanted to get rid of him, but knew that America wouldn't accept it. And it was one of those things where Ed would find out and apologize, and they got through it, but they needed each other. I mean, McMahon could read Johnny's thoughts and vice versa and set him up. And McMahon would say he would hold back on jokes because he didn't want to overshadow Johnny. And I think he was smart about that. I mean, it was the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, and that was Ed knew where the paycheck was coming from, and he was smart about it.
No
Kristyn,
question.
do you have to go?
I'm okay.
Oh, you're good?
This is interesting to listen to.
Okay.
Is it okay if I take a break? Can you come back after the quick break?
Yeah.
Excellent. Is that okay with you, Mark?
Oh goodness, this is great. I love talking about this. Yeah, it's an honor to be
do
here.
love
I'll be
talking
here.
about it, most definitely.
Yeah.
So we'll take a break, be right back.
From Bradshaw and Bryant, Michael Bryant. What's up, Allie?
Oh, not much. Doing my usual thing of telling people they shouldn't be texting and driving. In Minnesota, you can't have your phone in your hands. You can use, hands-free, but you can't have your phone in your hand for whatever reason. And that's why they made the law the way they did, so that police officers could see a phone in your hand and you got no excuse for why you got it there.
Do people know that that's the law?
I hope so. I mean, they used to follow it, and then kind of COVID kind of made people forget. And now it's like a freewheeling world out there with cell phones.
Let's say you get pulled over because you do have a phone in your hand and you're not watching where you're going. You got to be in pretty big trouble then, I would guess.
Well, the first one's not as bad. It's the multiple ones, the problem. And once people start stacking them up, then they have a big problem. And then what we're doing in car accidents is we've started bringing motions for punitive damages, because I'm trying to use the civil law any way we can to stop this, because it needs to stop.
Whenever I'd had any problems in my life, who was that I called again? It was like an MB, something like that.
Bradshaw and Bryant.
Let's take a second to talk about my bank, that'd be North American Banking Company. As a business owner, you're always looking for opportunities to grow, and that's where North American Banking Company can help. Their business banking team offers tailored solutions, whether you're expanding your team, opening a new location, or upgrading equipment. Because they're locally owned, loan decisions are made right here in the Twin Cities, which means faster approvals, more flexibility to meet your needs. If you're ready to take your business to the next level, why not bank with my friends at North American Banking Company? Visit nabankco.com to learn more.
This one's called The Whispering Willow.
What?
Do we like Whispering Willow?
That's fine.
It's all right. We're doing a thing where I generate AI-generated music, and we all listen to it together for the first time and see if we like it as bumpers.
Could you do me a
Sometimes it's
favor?
horrible.
Ask those people to stop using my voice on AI to do their commercials, because I don't get paid when they do that.
I don't think that's related to these people, but
Probably not.
You got to
but it
call
is-
SAG-AFTRA on that.
It's happening a lot more, as Kristyn Burtt knows. Kristyn Burtt with us, ladies and gentlemen. Kristyn Burtt Entertainment News brought to you by North American Banking Company. Go to nabankco.com to learn more. Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Mark Malkoff, Johnny Carson book, Love Johnny Carson. So that's a two-way street. I love that. It's like love from Johnny Carson or I love Johnny Carson. So that all works out very well.
Yeah, I mean, so many people would tell me I love Johnny Carson. Certain people like William Shatner, who was banned, I think wouldn't probably say that, and he wouldn't talk to me. But he waited till Johnny was gone before he said he had some miserable times on Johnny's show. And what happened is it was his third time with Johnny, and he would not let Johnny get a word in for like 2 or 3 minutes. Went off the pre-interview of approved stories and was just boring. And Carson could not get a word in. And when you're a talk show host, it's back and forth. And then he made the second strike was he turned his back on Johnny to talk to Buddy Hackett, so turned his back to Johnny for a while. And then the third is they would say back then you cannot promote the network you're on if it's not NBC. So we're going to promote TJ Hooker, which he did, but he said on ABC on Saturday. So they had to beep ABC, and it was 3 strikes you're out, William Shatner. You can go on with guest host, but you were not going on with Johnny Carson.
Yeah, I tell you what, William Shatner he used to come on my morning show, God, once or twice a year. Yeah. Always the nicest guy in the world, had funny things to say. I mean, he did a hell of a job, I will say.
He's witty, he's good. It's just Carson, when you were in his home, and Letterman was like this too, they expect you to have manners. Carson was very sensitive. So was Letterman. I mean, Carl Sagan, the astronomer, was good friends with Carson. They would go out to dinner after appearances. And one point, Sagan on air corrected Carson twice and interrupted him on statistics. And you could I've studied Johnny so much, and I could just see, oh my goodness, Sagan's not coming back, and he never did. It was just Johnny tried to play it off a little bit, but he when he felt slighted for whatever reason, if it was real or perceived, it was for pretty much you were done.
Mike, do you think there ever will be something as big as the Tonight Show? There are just so many late night talk shows now. Is one of them ever going to step up again, or are people even watching it anymore? I
think it would be extremely hard. I think the most of the views with these type of things are more probably podcasts, to be honest with you, TV podcasts. I mean, if somebody did one maybe on and that maybe network TV, we know it's never going to be on network TV, but if it's at a different place and it was good enough, possibly. But to get those numbers that Carson was getting and to have the influence, I think it would be really, really hard. I mean, the people would cry to me, some of the comedians, how their lives were changed, and we don't really hear those stories from the late night shows anymore. I mean, it's some people will get these Netflix specials and get famous from them. That is one method. Others just Instagram and TikTok.
Yep.
It's just completely different. I think it's definitely not as exciting, because back then you would have somebody like an unknown Freddie Prinze show up who's 19 or 20 years old.
Right.
6 months later, he has the #1 show in America, Chico and the Man. It's this fish out of water story with this housewife from Denver named Roseanne Barr, who's on stage in 1985, and Tom Warner and Marcy Carsey watched one of her Carson appearances and said, you know what, she's never acted before, but there is something about her. And she, again, she takes a show to #1 on ABC. So it was a lot of those, Letterman not being famous, 4 appearances, and him and Gary Shandling were the only 2 guest hosts to ever do the show that were not famous. And it's unbelievable. But the people that guest hosted, I mean, can you imagine Arnold Palmer guest hosting The Tonight Show? Some of those people that they had guest host, especially in New York, like Bob Crane, Cass Elliot, Kirk Douglas. Kirk Douglas, apparently, great movie star, but can't do comedy as hosting The Tonight Show, apparently. So it's funny to kind of like look back to see who they would. Michael Landon guest hosted 4 times. There are a lot of people that people probably wouldn't think guest hosted the show, and those were fun too, because Carson would watch from his home to try to watch some of these people trying to guest host his show because they think it's this easy gig, and it was the hardest grind in TV. Dick Cavett said it was like going to 200 cocktail parties in a row and trying to be the life of the party. It's exhausting, and the guest host would do it once and be like, I don't know how this man is doing it.
Can you talk a little bit about the Joan Rivers situation? Just because I think that was such a big chapter in both of their histories. And I look at a lot of it now, like from a different lens of like how much of this was really orchestrated by Joan Rivers' late husband, Edgar.
Most of it was Edgar. Joan would, when she would introduce herself to people, would say, I'm Joan Rosenberg. She would, she was try to be the good wife. She really tried to defer to her husband, Edgar. And it was really a tough situation because I think Joan did want to tell Johnny that she had signed this deal with Fox, and Joan slipped once and admitted that they actually went to Fox. Fox didn't go to them, which was the narrative. And they went, and Fox was interested in a show. And Barry Diller told me to my face when I sat down with him, he's like, I told Joan, you need to tell Johnny. I'm in a card game with him. I'm friends. But Joan and Edgar said there would be unforeseen circumstances, and Joan finally admitted in a couple of interviews one of the reasons she didn't tell Johnny, she knew that she wouldn't be guest hosting the show for a few months and it would be done. And she waited until oh my goodness, I think Johnny found out the 2 nights before the press conference, and that was the biggest thing that hit Johnny, is because even Joan's friends would say that you need to tell Johnny, but Edgar was the one that said you can't do this, and she listened to him, and it hurt her. But the other stuff that really, and this was people at the Tonight Show, I talked to many people and did the research. Johnny, Joan tried to take Johnny's producer, Peter LaSalle. Joan called Peter, and they were friends. They vacationed, and they said, you need to be my producer. Peter's like, what are you talking about? So, and then every single talent coordinator on Carson's staff was called and tried to take the Joan show. Joan offered everybody double. I talked to at least 1 or 2 of them, and other people say this happened. And it was Joan trying to poach Johnny's talent, and then her trying to make it out in the media that there was a war between the 2 shows, and it was one-sided. There was no war, and then Joan's narrative, NBC banned me from late night until Jimmy Fallon recently, and it's like, no, you went on Conan twice. You went on Bob Costas. These people put you on the network. Letterman, 4 days after the press conference, or days after, had a booking. You were supposed to be on Letterman's NBC show produced by Johnny Carson. You're the one that canceled. She said, I'm not feeling that funny these days. Canceled Letterman. And then a few days later, they talked her into doing a cameo, just a walk-on. But, Joan has her own narrative, but it was very interesting talking to everybody else. Melissa Rivers wrote a book, the last book she wrote, called Lies My Mother Told, or something like that, and it was about how her mom made up a lot of stuff. And just from talking to one of her biographers, Leslie Bennett, and just doing research, it's amazing. I mean, getting married after 4 days of meeting somebody that she said to everybody is a great story, and then you talk to everyone else and do the research in the newspaper, and you find out it was over a month or whatever, 6 weeks, 4 weeks. It's just, she was very, very good at saying, this happened. But yeah, it was really complicated. Johnny was wounded. I mean, he was so hurt, and he never, after the show was canceled, Fox never mentioned her name again. I mean, the war was one-sided.
Yeah, and then her husband committed suicide.
He did?
Right
Yeah.
after Barry Diller sat down with Joan, and Joan thought he was bluffing and said, he said, people think Joan's show was canceled, but that's not true. Barry Diller said, "We're removing your husband as producer," and Joan said, "If you do that, then I quit." And she thought that Diller was bluffing, and Diller removed her and then had guest hosts for the show, and Joan was done. And then Edgar, shortly after, took his own life, and then Joan found out. She told Business Insider she was in something like $29 million in debt that she didn't know from her husband. I mean, it was, and Joan reinvented herself so many times. And I have to say, and I put this in the book, there were people on the Tonight Show staff that loved her. I mean, I only got to meet her 1 or 2 times. Lovely person. I think that she really was a good person. I think that she just was listening to the wrong person, and it's a very complicated story. And I think I probably go into what actually did happen the best of anybody that in terms of the ability and the complexities. It just, people to this day will be like, yeah, Johnny just didn't talk to her just because she wouldn't tell him about Fox. It's way more than that. We touched on some of it, but we go deep in the book.
That's great. It's great to hear, just because I think that they're so intertwined together. And Joan's no longer here. I've interviewed Melissa a bunch of times, and she keeps her mother's legacy alive. But it's
sure she does a good job with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I just was going to say it's her mom's side of the story, of course. So.
Yeah, I mean, Joan would always say, when she went on, I think it was February of '65, how her life changed. And I mean, it's amazing to look at the newspapers, Walter Winchell and everybody, the new Carol Burnett. I mean, she exploded. I mean, she was back with Johnny 2 weeks later. And people to this day will be like, yeah, Joan, when she did stand up with Johnny the first time, I'm like, no. She was a seated guest. She was a writer on Candid Camera. She went on as a female TV writer, a comedy writer, just like Mel Brooks, the first show, went on as a comedy writer. And she never did stand up on Johnny's show. She was always a sit-down guest. And she had this illusion that she would be having a conversation with Johnny and they'd be ad-libbing, but every single word Joan said was tested in a comedy club. And they made it look effortless. But she was so good at what she did. And I mean, she previously, a bunch of years previous, went on Jack Paar and nothing happened to her career. And she was like 29 or 30, and people in the industry thought she was a dinosaur. It's unbelievable. And now to look at this. And she went on Carson, and I mean, Las Vegas. I mean, Johnny loved her so much. Permanent guest host. I mean, that's unbelievable to have that power. And she had that for 3 years. I know, right? For 3 years, she was the permanent guest host, and she would have continued to be the permanent guest host if she hadn't gone to Fox. And yeah, it's really sad that it happened. But talk about building yourself back up with QVC and all these things. Joan persevered and was just such a champion for charitable organizations. And
Melissa's still at QVC too.
Oh wow!
Oh really?
Yeah, carrying on her. Yeah, I went to a QVC event in April, and that's where I interviewed Melissa most recently. So she's still there.
Yeah,
well, let's take another break. Do you want to stay for the rest of the show, or do you have to go?
Oh, I'd love to stay. Are you talking to Kristyn or me? I'd love to stay.
I was going to beg you, but I'm not begging her.
I'm
having fun. This is great.
I love these interviews. Yeah. Can you stay for 15 more? The show will last about another 15 minutes. Can you both stay for that?
Yeah, definitely.
I'll stay.
Fun.
Kristyn, who loves you more than me? That's what I want to know.
Nobody.
No one?
Not even
Nobody.
my husband. You love me the most.
We'll take a break. Be right back right after this.
Why should your business bank with North American Banking Company? Here's Pete Wolf, owner of Robinson Rubber of Robbinsdale.
I partnered with North American Banking Company because I was able to talk to the president, and I know they have my back. They are much easier to talk to than those larger banks. The openness and flexibility has been the best part of banking with North American Banking Company. They understand small to medium businesses. No matter what part of the bank I am working with, North American Banking Company has the latest technology and friendly staff. I would absolutely recommend North American Banking Company to any of my closest colleagues if they want to have peace of mind in their business.
So why not bank where I bank, with my friends at North American Banking Company? To learn more about North American Banking Company, go to nabankco.com. That's nabankco.com, or do what I do and stop by any one of their 6 Twin Cities locations. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's Tom for Wellshire Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Facilities. Wellshire Alzheimer's and Dementia Care Facilities are a place where your loved one will live with pride and dignity. If you care deeply about someone in your life, Wellshire is the place I highly recommend. Wellshire is a memory care focused facility, has a full nursing team, always staffed within the building. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, too, by the way. They have never used or relied on any staffing agencies. Wellshire of Medina is now accepting elderly waivers after 12 months of private pay. And as I've said before, I know them personally. I have known 2 generations of this family. They're good people. And they're family-owned, too, by the way. Local company, conveniently located right in Medina and Bloomington. They're the best staffed memory care facility in the state. Wellshire has a robust community with activities 7 days a week. If your loved one is in need of a memory care facility, please get in touch with my friends at Wellshire. Set up a tour or learn more at wellshiremn.com. That's WEALSHIREMN.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Kristyn Burtt, working more than just 3 minutes on this show. You're usually on about 3 minutes, aren't you?
That's a lie. Add a 0 to that.
Oh, it's 30 minutes. That's
30
what it
minutes.
is. And now today, about a buck and a quarter. So you're
at
really
me.
putting in a good show today.
Just working up a sweat.
Well, I just like sitting back. Andy, this has got to be interesting for you because it's really not your age group. I mean, you watched Carson once in a while, didn't you?
I've never watched Carson. I was
You
aware
never-
of him. I mean, he was culturally present everywhere.
Yeah.
So I mean,
that's-
like you said, he was on The Simpsons. So of course, I was a big Simpsons watcher. So I was, and
Mm-hmm.
they parodied him all the time. And then he actually was on it one time
right.
as himself. But no, I never actually watched the show proper.
That's amazing. See, now both of you, Kristyn and Mark, I can't believe anybody alive that never watched Johnny Carson. Now my own son.
Near the end, he was only doing the last couple of years 3 nights a week because it wasn't because he was lazy. He was 66 and he was tired. He said he just privately he said he did not have the energy to be doing the show like he did. He did the show an hour 45, then it went down to 90 minutes. Around 1980, 81, it went down to 60 minutes. But that was the reason that it went down to 3 nights a week. But in terms of, Steve Martin said that he was the most famous man in America, maybe after the president or something to that effect.
Yeah.
And I think at that point for 30 years that probably is accurate.
You know what I've always noticed in my life, and this is for all 3 of you, if you have the same experience, but a guy like that, I never met Johnny Carson. I met Ed McMahon, which was very cool. Never met Johnny Carson. Never met a lot of those kind. I don't know how well I would handle that, meeting someone that I was so loyal to for many, many years. I don't know if I could have dealt with meeting Johnny Carson or
Never
the
meet
other
your
couple of
heroes.
people like that.
My grandmother was
hero.
obsessed with him. Like, we have a joke in our
Yeah.
family that they are smoking and drinking together, in the Beyonds, because
Oh, yeah.
that was her. She was a night owl. And when she would babysit me, she would keep me up watching Carson. My parents would be like, "Why are you so tired?" I'd be like, "I was up watching Johnny Carson, playing cards."
Yep.
She'd give me like, Coca-Cola with like cherries in it just to bribe me to stay
Oh.
awake. My grandmother would go to bed. But that's like my memory of Carson.
There was something so real and authentic about him when he broke Judy Garland's record at the Sahara Hotel for nightclub acts. He was setting all these records, and if people from Nebraska, there was a woman from Nebraska who just sent a note back saying, "I'm from Nebraska. Can I meet you after the show?" And this is the most famous man in America. Carson, every time if somebody from the Midwest come on back, he wanted people that were real. And if he recognized there was an authenticity, I think that's why the public really took to him, especially the Midwest. He never changed. I can't tell you how many comedians, though, would tell me during breaks and after the show, Johnny would actually punch up their jokes and be like, "Is it okay if I give you a suggestion on this joke if you change it here?" George Lopez said Johnny gave him a suggestion on a joke, and he tried it the next time in a nightclub, and it killed. So if you can imagine that generosity that Johnny had for some of those people, I mean, it was to hear those stories was good. Someone in your chat mentioned Louis Anderson. Louis told me my life got so much better all because of Johnny Carson. I mean, my parents all their friends. I mean, his life, he said up until like a year or so before he passed, we were in touch, and he would say that like sometimes not a day goes by where somebody would be like, Louis, I saw your very first Tonight Show, and it was incredible. I mean, Louis, it took him a while. Originally the gatekeeper, Jim McCauley, wasn't going to let him on, and finally he got on, and it was the time that he was ready, and his life changed. He was one of those people.
We have a question. Charlie in Albuquerque wants to know if there's going to be a physical media version of the audiobook.
Yeah, I did the audiobook. It's available on Audible. I recorded it over 5 days. So yeah, it's available on Audible, and then there's an e-version for Kindle or whatever, and then we have the hard cover that's available right now.
So no CDs or anything like that?
Oh, CDs?
Physical media, yeah.
Oh, I see what you're saying. No, if we go back to 1995 maybe, but I don't think... Do you remember when those audiobooks at Barnes & Noble would be like $85 or whatever for CDs? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
But sort of related to that, Mark, I mean, have you had any interest from like a Netflix? Because I feel like he's untapped in terms of docuseries, and streaming has been so big when it comes to looking back on a lot of these legends.
We'll see. I've talked to some people. There's been a little, back and forth. We'll see what happens. Definitely a complex guy. I definitely, in terms of something definitive, a book, I feel like in terms of Johnny's Tonight Show for 30 years, I feel like this is probably the closest. In terms of his personal life with his friends talking, I feel like we definitely got the story right. I could definitely see a docuseries based on this. It would be, I would love that. I definitely, there's still so many people that are around, unfortunately, obviously. I mean, so many people that aren't, but I was able to get the stories, and I would think that there would be interest. Carson, it's unbelievable to think he's been off the air for something like 32 years, and he still makes headlines. I mean, his life still makes headlines. The late night hosts still mention him by name. And he would have turned 100. Tomorrow will be his centennial.
It's crazy. Tomorrow? We mentioned that earlier this week. Yeah.
100 tomorrow.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
I don't know how much you touched upon this, but I'm really curious in terms of the late night wars. When Johnny retired, we all know that it was a Leno versus Letterman fight. And I know that, Letterman's been open about this. He felt like it was the biggest heartbreak of his life when he wasn't chosen to take over the Tonight Show.
Yeah, Johnny Carson really wanted it to be Dave, but had absolutely no decision, and NBC was very excited to get control back because Johnny had ownership of the Tonight Show, which was unheard of. He was making at one point 25% of all of NBC's profits. He just remembered to his early days in New York where his office, he didn't even have a bathroom. He'd have to share it with all the other NBC employees. And it took him a while to get treated like a star and to really get the money that he thought he deserved, making all the profits. So, yeah, they didn't listen to him. But you had Jay Leno, he had a manager, Helen Kushnick, who had Jay go to all the NBC affiliates, was constantly doing favors for NBC, free things, and was politicking for the gig, whereas Letterman would call the NBC executives pinheads, make fun of GE, and he just took no prisoners. Letterman, Peter LaSalle, Johnny's producer, and then Peter worked for Dave. Letterman thought that if we proved for 11 and a half years, we did this show at 12:30. We were a critic success, a rating success. We proved we knew how to do a show. And thought that was enough to get the gig, where Jay had done the guest hosting for Johnny something like 250 times. Yep. And Peter did not want to give it to Jay. He wanted to be Gary Shandling. Gary turned down the job, wanted to do keep doing this other show. It's Gary Shandling Show,
I love
which
that
was
show.
really fun. I was so innovative, but didn't want to give it to Jay, and Jay got the gig. And then Jay's manager, Helen Kushnick, planted a fake story that NBC wanted Johnny out, and I believe it was early '91. And Jay denied it was Helen, and then Helen finally admitted later that it was her.
She was ruthless. I don't know if people realize she was ruthless.
NBC removed her a bunch of months in after. She overplayed her cards. Bob Wright, NBC president, said. It was really bad. So they removed her, put a picture of her in the security booth at NBC Burbank. Do not let this person back in. I talked to Jay about it. Leno, he gave me 50 minutes, and we really talked about the situation. It was not healthy. But Johnny could not understand why he made Leno the permanent guest host. Why she would do something like that? And Jay later, when he found out, apologized to Johnny. And a lot of people thought there was bad blood between between Leno and Carson, and there wasn't. They were together at the American Teacher Awards in '93, and I knew somebody that was with them, and they just had a really good time. We're laughing, and it was fine. Johnny knew that he had somebody that was above him. That was a bad, unhealthy relationship.
Yeah, it was bad. What was the book, The Late Shift? What was the
it was
book?
it was Bill Carter's book called The Late Shift, and Kathy Bates played Helen Kushnick in the movie.
Oh, God.
And Kathy Bates did an amazing job. And yeah,
It's a great book.
It really is. It holds up. It's the best account, I think, of all that stuff that goes down. But yeah, for Jay, there's no way Jay would have gotten the Tonight Show without Kushnick. I mean, she was there were people that I talked to that did like her, but and I don't think that's very well conveyed in the book, or that's just not conveyed. I don't want to say well, but everybody, the majority of the people, it was unbearable.
What's amazing about that is when you have a show like Johnny Carson had, or any other business, if you've been good at it and really kicked ass for a long time, it causes people such stress. The whole thing. It's really kind of weird how that whole thing matters. Like and the other thing that I really didn't care for, or my side of the business even, when somebody would get a job and then everybody else would go, "Oh, he didn't deserve that." Well, he's doing well. The ratings are doing well. Why didn't he deserve it? Oh, somebody else should have done it. There's a lot of that going on, and I bet you when Johnny was, going down to 2 days a week or doing this or that, I got to believe. You heard a lot of chirping going on about what was going to happen and who was going to do it and how horrible it was going to be or how wonderful it is. I mean, it's all over the map, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody knew it's going to take a while to figure out. I mean, certainly Johnny, his first year, people were like, he's not controversial like Jack Parr, and they called him boring and dull. And Carson was convinced people were going to bed with me. We're going to do an entertainment show. We're not going to have manufactured controversy for the sake. And it just took America a while to accept it. Just like Leno, his first year was getting trounced upon with Letterman, and it took him a year to figure it out. Americans, a lot of times, the audiences do not like change. Conan O'Brien, for 2 years, got and now he's like people hero worship him, younger people, but it was somebody new, and they didn't know who he was, and it took about 2 years. And his audience was less than 200 in NBC on the 6th floor of NBC here in New York, and they couldn't fill 199 seats. I would go, and there would be empty seats as a teenager. I would go. So that's how unpopular he was at the time. So yeah, I think that anybody that gets that gig, it's going to take a while to figure out. It's very hard. That's why Chevy Chase, they gave him 26 episodes, and he was never going to figure it out. The first show, the Chevy Chase show, and he got paid lots of money, was a complete train wreck. The thing I don't understand, and Chevy's been very nice to me, and I've had him on the podcast, is in 1986, he tried to guest host for Johnny Carson, and he had a hard time. He went on with Johnny a month later, said, I've never done this before. You have the hardest job. No one's ever going to be the next Johnny Carson.
Right.
No one should do this. And then a couple of years later, he's hosting his own show. And Johnny said, "You really, Chevy," at the poker game, because it was a poker game it was Steve Martin and Neil Simon. "Chevy, you really want to be doing this 5 nights a week? This punishing grind 5 nights a week?" And yeah, Chevy tried, and it was really tough because he was just so established, and they were not going to give him the time that he needed.
I understand. We got a couple more minutes. We want to take a break, come right back and wrap things up.
Sure, that'll work.
That works for you too?
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, she's not talking to me.
I'm here, yeah. I'm like, at this point, what am I going to be, like, dip and go see ya?
Yes, you've done it before, so you know what.
Never.
Never. We'll be right back. 2 minutes, wrap things up right after this.
Many car dealers try to create an extreme sense of urgency. Does anybody really buy it?
We gotta sell 100 cars by Saturday to get the boss off the roof. Or, you'll never see these rebates again. And oh yeah, your trade will never be worth more.
Really? I asked Jim Paul from Valley Buick GMC in Apple Valley and Valley GMC in Hastings his thoughts.
I don't even know what to say. I hope folks are smarter than that.
Has there really ever been a time when it was urgent?
Probably not. But this tariff environment might be a first. Valley has several hundred pre-tariff units on the ground. Who knows what's going to happen with the tariffs, but these are really safe buys. Going forward, Valley's committed to make whatever the situation is as painless as possible. like we've always done.
Where can we find you then?
Get them pre-tariff. Hurry, hurry, hurry. When they're gone, they're gone. And man,
At a Valley store in Apple Valley or Hastings or valleycardealers.com. Certainly not on a roof.
South Dakota, one of the most business-friendly states in the country, and there's no better place to settle down and take advantage of these incentives than in Sioux Falls. As the state's largest city with a metro population over 290,000, Sioux Falls has low business costs with a high quality of life. There's no state corporate or personal income tax, no inheritance tax, no limits to your, well, let's say, things your business needs. Here's the deal. South Dakota ranks among the top 10 states in the U.S. for tax friendliness, hardest working, healthcare and doctors, most popular to move to, inbound state for movers. Listed in the 50 best places to live for families, as a matter of fact. The fastest growing Midwest metro. One of the best places to raise a family and one of the best small cities for Gen Z workers. National fourth top 10 inbound city that people move to. So how does South Dakota stack up against other states? Well, they rank second in the nation for the lowest cost of doing business, the most business-friendly state, and the best business tax climate. And as South Dakota's biggest city, Sioux Falls is at the center of all these benefits. Visit www.siouxfallsdevelopment.com. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Malkoff. Is it Malkoff? Is that how you spell your name?
Two F's, but
two F's. Yeah. See, I was going to ask you that. I grew up in a nice Catholic, Jewish, black neighborhood. So Mark Malkoff with two F's.
That's right.
Love Johnny Carson. When are you going to put out a book? They're big shots.
Actually, this is a good point for Mark to encourage you to do your memoir.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, maybe. People have asked me. I would go to Letterman and go to Saturday Night Live and sneak in, and I have a couple of good stories to talk about from that. But maybe, we'll see. This was 4 years of my life, and I barely got through. David Ritz was my co-author, and I'm so lucky to have him. David Ritz did books one-on-one with everyone from Ray Charles to Don Rickles to Paul Schaefer, Aretha Franklin. So I was just overwhelmed with the concept of Carson and doing it justice. So he was amazing to have with me to guide me through the process. So
yeah, that's what Tom needs for his whole radio career. He needs someone to guide him.
For a book or for currently for his career or
memoir.
both?
A memoir. He
That's
needs
what I
to do a
thought.
memoir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Oh God, no question about that. God, can you imagine getting somebody in that much trouble, helping to get me
to tell the
hired when
truth?
I'd
Those
screw
are the
up?
memours that are good. You have people that tell the truth. I mean, that's what I
that
try to
is
do
very-
with
oh,
this.
God, yes.
People would
Juicy.
ask me. They would say, Mark, people that loved Carson would say, are you going to write a pro Johnny book or a negative book? I said, I'm writing the truth. And they'd say, uh-oh. And I'm like, I think overwhelmingly he comes off good in the book. And that's just reflected from the 400 people plus people I talked to that overwhelmingly loved him. And we put in his flaws, but like anybody has flaws. But no, we told the truth.
Tom has no flaws.
That's
I
what
have
I
no
hear.
flaws.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, I'm sure glad Catherine's not home, so she could respond to that. Oh, is he really? Okay. Mark, I have this wife that's far too good for me, and I know she's
right
far
there.
too good for me.
Hey,
so.
I know the same, Kristyn. Feel the same way. 20 years married.
Andy?
I don't know how it happened. Won the lottery.
Andy, I handle it well though, don't I?
And what? Well,
Being married to your mother.
being married to my mom. I mean, I can't really comment too much on that, can I?
Oh, I suppose. Yeah, let's aim away from that particular thing. Mark, you got to come back more often. I love stories like this that go on.
I absolutely
just
love that.
it.
Yeah, there's a lot more with the book, and I'm just grateful, and I really appreciate this. This was so much fun.
Oh, we appreciate having you on. And, look, there's no way that Kristyn Burtt would have stayed for an entire hour if it weren't for people like you.
I'm
she would have left
grateful. No,
long
this
ago.
is such a treat. This is so nice. Whenever I see you on Facebook and Instagram, so it's so great. The illusion that we've been in, I've seen you for so many years over this, but it's been a while, so this is fun.
It's been really fun.
Well, both of you come back. And Kristyn, you need to come back tomorrow. Don't forget that.
I will be back tomorrow, I promise.
Okay. Well, you're going to be in charge of keeping Mark in touch with everything so he can come back, because I love these guys. This conversation was fantastic. This is what podcasting should be. Learning things like this, don't you think?
Agree.
Yeah, this was great. Please just let me know. I'm back whenever.
All right. Andy, any closing words?
Closing words? I guess I'll have to go home and watch some Johnny Carson.
You do.
You've never seen Johnny Carson.
Not a full episode, no. I've seen clips and stuff like that.
Clips,
of
I
course,
suppose.
but-
The
yeah.
YouTube channel is really good. The official channel has over 1 million subscribers. The average is 1 million. I think per video has 1 million hits. I mean, it's people miss him. His best work is preserved. For the first 10 years was erased by NBC, but the last 20 years is there.
Yo, it's wonderful. Mark,
Perfect.
come back soon.
Yeah,
Kristyn, we'll
for
talk
sure.
to you
Thank you.
tomorrow.
Yep.
Andy, thank you. That's going to do it. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Bye.
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 Got a picture in my noggin reminds me of this rose before. Every time I hear the singing reminds me how you talk in my door.